I'm delighted, I've been lottie-dotting. Not a lot of thoughts when I ponder from the top. Man, these boys, they be potting. I trust them like a lot, and they told me that I get it. Guess what? I got it. You should do it too. You will never lose. If you ever do, it must have been a ruse. Ricky, that's my dude. Stoops is super cool. Sharks up in the pool. I've been sparking up my tools. I've been looking to win. Spend a little again. I've been first fiddle to them. My God, I riddled again. I told them stop clowning around. They said what goes up comes down. I said I'm down with the sickness. My team stay ill now. Come get this. I'm just so Devy Drafts. I stay ready tonight. Deep dive, we rise. That's the medley, alright. Devy Drafts. Devy Drafts. Da 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 Devy Drafts. Hey.
Welcome to another episode of the Devy Drafts, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, Stoops and I are going to have a little bit of fun. We are going to do a 2-round Devy Mock Draft. I'm excited about this. As always, I'm joined by my partner here, Stoops. How are you, bud?
I'm good. Definitely excited to finally have some fun since you've been talking trash about my guys. So finally to show you that you're wrong. I don't know how I'm going to show you that you're wrong, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you.
I thought this would be a little fun idea. I don't think we've ever really did something like this where we just do a kind of a 2-man Devy Mock, kind of give everybody an idea of where we have some of these guys on our charts and kind of showcase our thought process along the way. We're going to do 2 rounds. We figured that'd be good enough to kind of give you, maybe our top 24 guys in both of our heads of where we would take them and stuff like that. So I'm excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stream here. I'm excited about it. All right. So Stoops, before we kind of dive into the draft real quick, just a little strategy talk. Do you, in a Devy draft, do you concern yourself with what your roster makeup is before going into a draft, or do you draft the same way you kind of do with the rookie draft, the best player available, or a little bit of both?
I would say a little bit of both, but more so, I guess you could almost say more so best player, in my opinion. Because it's one of those things where I don't know I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. So it's kind of one of those where, especially in a super flex, you kind of want to have as many quarterbacks as you can. But that being said, you obviously don't want to reach on a quarterback if X running back or receiver, I would say, or tight end, but that one's already been in the league. So, are available, right? So I kind of approach it as just more of a best player available as opposed to one specific position that may be in need. More so because we don't know where that person's going to go. We don't know, what's going to really happen. So I could be, higher on X quarterback, but if we don't truly think he's going to be a first round guy, then I'm not going to take him over a running back that I could see being a workhorse at the next level. So I kind of go best player available, kind of all the way through on a Devy aspect of it. So
I would say the same thing, because also the thing about it is we're drafting guys that might not be in the league for 1 to 2 to 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the Devy aspect of things, like a DJU, a lot of people have been drafting him for 2 years now in Devy drafts, and he hasn't been able to be in the league as of yet, right?
He hasn't even been the starter yet.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Now he is, but
he is now. But same thing with Sam Howell. In 2019, they, him and Slovis broke out. They started rising up the ranks. They started being drafted. So this coming year, you're finally going to potentially get some return on investment on these guys. You know what I mean? So a lot of Devy could potentially be a sit and wait game, right? You know what I mean? You're Absolutely. sitting and waiting. So with all that being said, with a little strategy there to chatter about a little bit, Stoops, I was gracious enough.
I'm shocked.
Kind enough to give you the first overall pick. You're probably going to go predictable here, and that's just fine because it's probably what I would do. But Devy Draft 2-round rookie. Let's start this bad boy, Stoops. Who you going?
So it's between two guys,
Ooh.
but I know who I'm taking.
Yeah.
I believed in him since the Clemson game his freshman year. That's Mr. Sam Howell. Sam Howell.
Wow.
Yep, I'm doing it. I just think, man, I'm that big of a fan. I already know who you're going to probably go with the next pick, and it's not wrong at all. So I just think Sam Howell's going to be the guy. Y'all know it. I'm a huge fan.
Really? I would have never guessed.
Never, ever. Hey, all right. Not who I thought you were going to take.
I'm definitely taking DJU. I just think that, in my opinion, he's my Devy QB1. The talent, the upside, the playmaking ability we saw in very small sample size what this kid's capable of doing. I think they're going to give them the keys to the city this year. They have some weapons down there for really to stand out, and that's DJU. I'm really going to take him, and I truly believe that he's an elite athlete that's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL very, very soon. So, all right, Stoops, with the 3rd overall, what you got?
So I'm going to take running back out of Texas A&M. Just kidding. No, I'm not. Spencer.
Yeah, and let me stop you real quick. Just real quick, let me stop you. We're drafting kind of basically in order of our ADP as well. We're not, like, Stoops is drafting. He's not drafting the super team of Howell and then Spencer Rattler.
No, yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that with everybody at home before we kind of move on. All right, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, so it's got to be Spencer Rattler. I mean, like you said, it's one, especially in a super flex style format type thing. Like,
Yep.
you know, if he's still available, obviously you've got to go that route with it. I love Isaiah Spiller, obviously, but that's at this point, obviously there'd be no reason to do that. And I mean, Spencer Rattler's he's projected to be the 1st overall pick, you know, in next year's draft. So obviously there's still a full season to play. Things can, you know, transpire differently, but
I'm starting growing this kid, man.
Oh, I know. I'd be shocked if he
Hard not
wasn't.
to.
If he comes out and has the season that everyone's projecting him to have, then I'd be shocked if he's not the 1st overall pick.
He struggled early in the season. We talked about that. You know what I mean? Like, we like to talk about, you know, some of the things that maybe not everybody is willing to talk about some of these players. Is like, hey, they do have some issues. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is. You know, it's nothing against them. It happens, but let's not pretend like whenever he was out here struggling against some of these bad teams that we can't highlight stuff like that, because you have to. But I agree with you 100%. Spencer Rattler, I said this on the show a couple weeks ago. I truly believe that he might end up being my quarterback 1 by the end of the season. And I love Slovis and I like Howell, but the talent's just there. And you're right. If he has half the season that we are projecting, then he's going to be that guy. I think I'm going to go Breece Hall here. You didn't type your name in? Breece Hall.
You erased it.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, let me redraft.
Hold on. I didn't mean to type over your guy's name. My bad. So
Jeez.
Breece Hall, he's my running back one in Devy. The talent's there. The upside's there. He's a monster. I just foresee him being that guy for years to come. He has a few things that I like to nitpick on, but right now I've got to take Breece Hall at number 4. What you got at 5, Steve?
Well, since I got sniped,
hey,
because believe it or not, I was actually going to go Breece Hall here. Believe it or not. Since I got sniped, though, I got to go with the true RB1.
Oh,
Isaiah Spiller.
Eric Gray.
Isaiah Spiller, because he can run people over, contrary to unpopular belief. He can catch the ball.
I'm never going to hear the end of that one.
No, you're not. In all seriousness, Breece Hall, Spiller, Isaiah Spiller, they're going to be. I think they're going to be 2 running backs that we are talking about for a very, very long time. Man, it's. I'm excited for this season, obviously because college football, but for this alone, to watch all season. What does Breece Hall do this week? What does Isaiah Spiller do? What does Eric Gray do? What does whoever do? It's to kind of compare, you know, our opinions and see what the numbers look like and what the film looks like. That's what's going to make this so much more fun.
I don't think there is a better quarterback running back tandem in college football than Spencer Rattler and Eric Gray. I really don't. And
You spelled Kennedy Brooks wrong.
I truly don't. And I'm the playmaking potential that Eric Gray has, and he comes from a school that did not know how to use him, nor do they really know how to use anybody in the University of Tennessee. So for me personally, I'm excited about what Rattler and Gray can do together. It is like the Rattler's a playmaker, obviously on his own. Gray's a playmaker on his own. You put these two together, the possibilities are endless because I feel like Gray can elevate his draft stock by being next to Rattler. Just that alone is going to help him because he has an arm. He can throw the football. It's going to open up the running game. Vice versa, running game going to open up Rattler. So they're going to utilize each other a whole lot. And to me, Eric Gray is my, obviously I've said this before, Eric Gray is my RB2. And Hall, Spiller, and Gray, I think are that upper echelon of the draft class. And then kind of after there, it goes wherever. But these three guys going 4, 5, and 6 is not really surprising just because of how good both of those guys are. So number 7, Stoops, what do you got for us?
This guy, I think, is going to be absolutely phenomenal if used correctly. And he has a new head coach who has definitely made running backs a very, very hot commodity. I'm going to take Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
I spelled his name wrong. Bijan Robinson out of Texas. I mean, with Sarkisian there, we'll see. When you look back at his overall head coaching record, it's okay. It's not great, but when you look at his track record of what he's done for running backs or just really offensive players in general, it's been pretty solid. I'm hoping that he can use Bijan the correct way because we've seen how Texas has utilized their running backs and it has not been that great. So love some Bijan though. Love him.
Bijan is another, I considered him because in my opinion, I don't know where you stand with the whole, with I'll just put you on the spot. Bijan, how would you rank him in this draft class, right?
So I'll be honest, it's tough. So
it's a hard battle, right?
It is because we haven't seen, I think, his full potential. But if you want to put how do I explain this? I'd say the smaller sample size because he was still kind of sharing that backfield. And I think he will still technically share it this year, but I think it's his backfield. If I really sit down and look at it more in depth, I personally wouldn't be shocked if I put him 1 overall. And that says a lot because y'all know my Spiller love. I just think this is a stretch to say, and I don't mean it in the sense of this comparison. When Saquon came out, everyone was just like, Saquon Barkley's generational, this, that, and the other, whatever. I think Bijan can be that level of a player. Again, I'm not truly comparing the two. I'm just simply saying I think Bijan is that talented that he can be kind of put on that pedestal. And that's big. That's a lot. I know. But I would, on the spot, I would probably put him 1 and feel confident with saying that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's hard. I've battled with that one internally myself, and I think looking at my rankings, I have Hall 1, Robinson 2 right now on my Devy rankings, and I think it's a lot closer than I think a lot of people appear. I think Robinson could potentially have been the number 1 running back in this draft class, and he's the talented. Again, but it's Texas. Right?
Yeah.
It's Texas. I don't understand. Them and the USC and Texas and UT just don't know how to utilize their talent. Obviously, we've gone far too long without the best quarterback in this upcoming draft being taken, and I'm gonna rectify that with Keaton Slovis. The thing about it is what I wanted to look at. I saw this stat, and there's a lot of Slovis haters in this world. Now, completion percentage over expected. A stat, a number, I'm not exactly 100% sure what goes over, but I'm assuming the completion percentage versus, what it would be if things fall into place the way they want it to. Somebody posted this chart, and I was looking at it, and there was a lot of Slovis haters that kind of looked at this chart and were like, wow, because Justin Fields was on another level the reason everybody was posting it was Justin Fields was at the chart, but the number 2 guy on this chart was Keaton Slovis. And people seem to forget that when we look at the numbers, 2020 was a little bit rough. He was playing with a shoulder injury. It is a known fact. Coach Helton came out and said so. I do believe that there's an opportunity for him to kind of, improve upon that this year. They say he's healthy. I'm excited about that. But Slovis has potential. He's not the prototypical size that a guy like me likes to see out of my quarterbacks, but I really, really like his potential. I think that he has a good arm. It's not the best arm in this draft. Does he have a better arm than Rattler? No. But I don't always need to have a 70-yard bomb every time the ball comes out of somebody's arm. So I like Slovis. I think the numbers are there for him, and I think that he has all the potential in the world to be a guy to be a good quarterback on Sundays. And if he falls out of the first round, I've seen him fall out of the first round so many Devy drafts, and it kind of blows my mind. We're dealing with Superflex here, which could be different from some other people's drafts. But if you're in a Superflex, I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks in the top 8. So, four quarterbacks, 4 running backs, no wide receivers. Are you going to change that, Stoops?
I am.
There we go.
I am going with Mr. David Bell.
Yep.
Been the best receiver on his team for 2 years running. Obviously, it's going to continue. Yeah, I mean, it's watch his film, look at his numbers. I mean, he gets it done. I just absolutely love David Bell. And it's funny, actually, he is not my wide receiver 1 in my rankings anymore. He's my 2. But there's just something about David Bell. I just think he is going to translate a little bit quicker, which is kind of contrary to why wouldn't I have him at 1? But I just odd, right? But no, I just like David Bell a lot. I just think that he's going to definitely make a name for himself. He's going to continue to do it. Big fan of him. I mean, I just wish he went somewhere other than Purdue, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you're on board here with the wide receiver run here, and I'm going to go Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. This one was hard for me. I went with my wide receiver 1 in the upcoming class, who, I mean, is obviously coming off an injury. But Wilson, Ohio State just produces wide receivers at a insane rate these days. It's going to be interesting to see in like 5 years. Like, they produce them on the college level, but will they produce them on an NFL level? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying that we haven't seen some of that already, but Garrett Wilson's that guy. He's going to be good. I think he's probably – I prefer Wilson over Uiagalelei. I know that some other people flip-flop those around, but I think Wilson is immensely more talented, in my opinion, than Uiagalelei is. But I can't help but pass that value up at number 10 here.
I love Garrett Wilson. Love Garrett Wilson.
He's your 1, right?
No, he's my 3, actually.
Who's your 1?
Olave.
Oh.
Yeah.
I say he's immensely more talented than Olave. And then
no, and so I just remember, I said this before, I just remember watching him back when he was in high school, in the playoffs, and just some of the catches he had, like the ball is thrown and I'm just like, there's no way he's going to catch that. And he somehow comes up with it. It's just, when you see talent like that, it's phenomenal. And he's continuing to do it, at a big level, right? I mean, he's as top D1 as it gets, one of the top programs in the country. So he's definitely making it happen. Moving on to mine. Man, I'm fighting with it right now. I'm going to go bold here, just basically based on what I've seen as far as, some reports coming out and what we've seen. This is a guy that I've seen him. Obviously, I've watched some film. You came out and you said big praises, and this is a deep pick. I'm going with Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
Out of Ohio State, with the capital V. Man, I don't remember what the exact verbiage was that I saw as far as, in the article or anything, but basically it was high praise. I mean, it was just, this guy's catching on fast. He's making plays. He's making a name for himself. And if he can be that day 1 starter there, I mean, he's got 3 years of just straight domination, so fan of that.
His junior season in high school, he rushed for in 15 games, rushed for 2,424 yards, averaged 12 yards a carry, averaged 161.6 yards per game, had 13 games of over 100 yards, and he had 45 touchdowns. 45 touchdowns, everybody. I'm not kidding with that. 45. And then he had 18 catches in 15 games, 283 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So he had 50 total touchdowns. 50 total touchdowns in his junior year of high school. Kid is insane. And I'm pretty pissed off right now because that's where I was going to go number 12. I was literally going to go there, number 12. So it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. So now I'm going to shuffle back a little bit, see where I can go here. And I'm going to go, I really wanted to go the other guy I was talking about with Pickens, but I really, this is a kid that, bottom first round here. I like the value. I think that he's going to stand out this year. And that's Boudier. I think.
Yes.
I think this talent. You're the first one to kind of put eyes on him, and then he kind of broke out towards the end of that season. So I was blown away by it, I guess you could say. And I think that he's got. I mean, the quarterback play is still a little bit questionable. Yeah. But I'm excited. I'm very, very excited about this kid's potential. And I think that, again, the biggest reason I steer clear a little bit of George Pickens is that injury. I'm not too concerned with it, but I'm concerned enough in a Devy aspect that I want to take a guy that I think could give me some solid upside. So Boudier there is going to be my number 12. What do you got for us, Stu?
So I was going to go one direction, and then I thought about it again. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go with a guy who is actually coming back from an injury, sat out all last year. That's Justin Ross.
Mm-hmm. I like him.
I think him and DJ are going to
they're going to love him.
Man, I can't wait to see what we get this year out of them. Justin Ross is one of those guys that you could almost say he's been forgotten in the grand scheme of it. Now, obviously, guys who are just more in depth and, kind of really, really dig deep into things, that's not necessarily the case. But at the same time, he's definitely not talked about nearly as much as he was. And I think he's going to come back in a big way this year.
Yeah, I've got a love for Justin Ross. So, I love the kid. I think he's got super duper potential, and I'm excited to see what he does. And I'm about to throw this entire draft for a complete loop. And I'm going to go with a quarterback here. And I watched his tape. I broke down this kid. I broke down the abilities of him and those around him. This entire class I've looked at personally. This forthcoming 2024 potential class it's out of this world, to be honest with you. And I think that this kid's set up for potential. And I'm going to go with Drake May here.
Love it.
I'm excited to see what May brings to the table because Howell has developed year over year over year as a better quarterback. And now you take Sam Howell, no offense to Sam Howell, folks, and anybody at home, but you take a guy that has better mechanics, obviously a lot taller, about 10 feet taller. And I think Drake May is going to be the big thing. I really do. I like a couple of guys from this class, but May to me really stands out. And my preference in a 6'5" quarterback might play a little bit of a preference, just a little bit of why I like him a little bit more. But I like the system that he's going into. Some of these other guys I really do like from, Sam Heward, Caleb Williams, McCord, Vandergriff, those guys I really like as well. I think this class is really good, but for me, Drake May, his landing spot, his potential, the zip on his arm, May is so damn good. He's so damn good. And it's a little bit high for him. Obviously, we're a couple years out, but again, this is Devy. You know what I mean? Like that's
Get your guy.
Exactly. So, all right, Stoops, what you got for us?
So where I'm at now is a running back that I've been on the fence with taking. I think it's time now. I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby. I just think so. I will say this. When I was watching the A&M Auburn game last year, he ended, I don't know if he did have some form of an injury. So he was kind of in and out, not getting as many touches, whatever it was. But whenever he was on the field, I just remember feeling that don't give him the ball type mentality, because he's just out there making plays, and he's going to be a big reason as to why Auburn is or is not successful this year, because we know it will not be because of the quarterback. Actually, he'll be anyway. You could say the same thing, but now Tank Bigsby, he's just a phenomenal talent. I mean, his name, right? Tank. I mean, that's cool enough. He should have gone higher because of his name.
He really should have. But to be honest with you, looking at some of the names these days on some of these kids, like what was this kid from
Alabama? There's this guy Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he changed his name to Kool-Aid now. There was another one. What is it? His name, like the coldest to
the cold. Yeah.
Yeah. The cold. Like,
he goes, is it going to LSU or is he still in high? I don't remember. Maybe not, but yeah, the coldest either. Something. Yeah.
But somebody made a joke about how like Kool-Aid would be covering the coldest to ever do it. Whatever his name is. Like these kids these days, I just don't even know. I don't even know anymore. But I digress here. All right. So moving on, I am going to go. Man, this is a hard one. There's so much value still left here. Man, because I really could go some guys from this year's forthcoming class. I'm going to go with somebody that I feel like has really big potential. We haven't seen him out of it yet, and I think that what he brings to the table is really something that is really, really good. And that's Damon DeMoss.
Nice.
My co-host here talks a lot about him, obviously being an A&M boy, but I really hope whatever's going on, whatever he did to Jimbo is rectified so that we can see him on the football field this year. Because honestly, if you put him, Spiller, Smith on the field together, and then with Wademeyer, I feel like you're looking at a potential Alabama situation with the sheer amount of talent that they have down there. So I hope that, because you're talking about a guy that was like a top 12 Devy pick for a while now, and then he just kind of had a rough year. So, and this is a forewarning. If you are in a Devy league and you do approach an owner for DeMoss, who's maybe a little bit down for him, you could probably get a solid upside, solid cheap value on DeMoss right now. So I highly recommend doing that. But
I had a guy come to me. I don't remember what league it was, and this has been a while now. I had a guy come to me because I have him on one of my Devy teams.
You have DeMoss in the league? What?
Crazy. He came to me and he sent me some offer. I don't remember it, but it wasn't. I was like, that's not even close for me. And it was because he's trying to get him. I told him, I was like, I'm still super high on him, and he came back with as you should be. You know what I mean? So he knows that. I know that. And, since you brought it up, here we go. The reports that I've been seeing has just been phenomenal. He's starting to understand the playbook better. Now, that's a lot of what the issues were outside of other potential things that we just don't know about. But from what I was seeing or hearing, is it was just understanding of the playbook. Apparently, Jimbo's play calling and playbooks are very complex, so it's a little bit harder for younger guys to pick up on quickly. But just what we've been seeing and hearing this year is that he's caught on. It's looking very, very good. And the practice footages that he's put out there, he's going against, so Jalen Jones, he's basically the number one corner at A&M. They've been going one-on-one with each other, and DeMond is just making plays against him. So does that say more about DeMond or less about Jalen? I don't know. Take it how you will. Because I'm sure Jalen has won many matchups as well, and that's not going to be posted kind of thing on DeMond's, feed. But nonetheless, he's out there making one-handed catches. He's out there running routes solid. So I'm hoping that this is the year, because if it is, we've got one more year of it, and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Moving on. This guy, I was toying with taking earlier. He is still available. I hope, because I'm going to take him anyway. Quarterback out of Alabama, Bryce Young. We haven't obviously seen the full, array of what he's able to do on the field. We kind of see little bits and pieces, but it's more, for me at this point with where we are, it's just that upside pick. It's what he can be, If And then also, so I was thinking about this too. One thing I do look at whenever I'm going through a Devy draft is I kind of look at, okay, how many 2022 guys do I have? Okay, I've got 7 of them. Okay, I'm not going to be able to create that many more roster spots on my NFL roster at that point. So I do definitely take into consideration. So then once I hit a certain point, I start looking kind of more at the 2023, 2024 guys. So it's kind of a progression of, okay, 2 years down the road, who's going to retire, who can I cut, so on and so forth. So I do look at that aspect as well. So that's one reason at this point that I, decided let's go Bryce Young, so I can kind of have that, as if this is going to be my actual team, because that would be phenomenal if we can get them on our rosters. But it is definitely something I look at. So I kind of took that into consideration when I took Bryce Young here. And I just think he's got the potential. I mean, he's got the weapons. Alabama's always got the weapons.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I'm cautiously optimistic about Bryce Young. I still think the upside's there, like you said, but I want to see it. You know what I mean? We've got 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So he's got 2 years to kind of prove himself. One guy I've talked about taking him, thought about taking him about 7 times now, George Pickens. I can't deny the talent anymore. 18th overall, I think, is a hell of a value for him, especially if he comes back healthy from this ACL tear, which is kind of scary to even think about. But he tests off the charts. To me personally, he's my number 1 wide receiver in this class. He has been for a long time. I did switch it up. I do have Bell number 1 now, but Pickens is still my number 2. It could flip flop. If we see, again, Georgia just doesn't know how to produce talent or utilize the talent that they produce each year. That's my biggest problem with them. So that's why I'm going to go Pickens now. And I think if you get Pickens 18 in a Devy draft, you're really getting a steal. So
for sure. I'm going to keep it with the wide receivers. I'm going to go Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. With what he's done with basically nothing at quarterback, let's be honest, right? He had Felipe Franks last year, and he's just able to make plays. He's one of those guys. I mean, he's 6'3", 232, and is just athletic. So I think getting him here at this point is just an absolute steal. Even with, no elite quarterback throwing him the ball, he can make plays. And I just think that speaks volumes, because whenever you get to the next level, even your not elite quarterbacks are better than what he plays with, at Arkansas. So it's going to be fun to see what he can do this year, continue to build on that. But yeah, Treylon Burks.
For me, this one comes down to another quarterback scenario. I'm trying to figure out which one I want here. I've got 2 different guys that are in that middle tier of my board, but because for me, I'm not really sold on quarterbacks outside, not named Rattler, Howell, and Slavis enough to really go in that second round. So I want to look into the future a little bit. There's a couple different guys that you could really look at here, but again, in my research, I like this kid a whole lot. I'm going to go deep again with this, but I'm definitely going to go with Brock Vandagriff. I'm higher on him than a lot of people are. I actually feel like he has the potential to be the best quarterback amongst these, hands down. I think he is easily the most talented of all of them. Mm-hmm. I've watched tape on this entire class from top to bottom, and Vandagriff, May, and Heward are really, really close to me in my rankings and in my scouting and looking at them. I like May for his size a little bit more, and I think that he's got a lot of upside to him. But Vandagriff, to me, is really, really good. And he puts the ball where I want him to. He's got a nice zip to the ball. He has the upside. Obviously, the concern of going to Georgia, what that looks like. But I can't knock his talent, knock his ability. 5-star athlete, 6'3", 205. I can't knock that 100%. So that's why I'm going to go with Vandagriff. I'm dipping into that 2024 class, but I believe, again, that has potential. And again, we haven't seen anything yet. These guys could come out here and just be garbage, but I don't see that with at least these top 3 guys, from Heward to Vandagriff to May. So I've got to go there.
There's a guy, I'm not going to take him here, and once I finish up, I'll be honest, I'm not going to draft him at all. But there's a guy that I'm going to touch base on. But nonetheless, it's my turn. I'm going to go Mr. Kevin Harris at this point. I just, with what we saw last year, again, a lot of these guys that we talk about, some of them obviously are on elite teams, right? But South Carolina's not one of them. But they've got a phenomenal running back there. I think we're going to continue to see just amazing numbers out of him this year. He really showcased what he was able to do last year, even in a shortened, essentially, SEC played decent amount of games, but it was still a shortened season. And he was still able to put up phenomenal numbers. So I can't wait to see what we get out of him this year. But yeah, Kevin Harris.
For me, man, this is hard for me because we talked about this guy a little bit off the air, and I'm gonna stick to my guns. You know what I mean? He is one of the highest rated to ever come out, and I've got to believe in the talent. If you're picking in the second round of a Devy Draft, it's okay to throw a dart here. Eric Gilbert, 6'6", 255. There's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes with what he's with what's going on grades wise, school wise, transfer wise. We do know that he wanted to be close to home. He is there. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pound this in the sand with a couple other guys that I talked about. But Georgia, it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him.
Yeah.
Hopefully they utilize him to the great potential. But I think about their offense of what they could really bring to the table. If Pickens was healthy, he's not. If Pickens would have been healthy, man, Pickens, Gilbert, Zamir White, JT Daniels would have been having a field day, like the offensive side of things. But take Pickens off that. They still have some depth at the wide receiver position. But for me, it's sad because, again, this is a guy probably going in that top 20. You know what I mean? Like he was going to be the next Kyle Pitts in this enchilada of things. So Eric Gilbert, it might be a little bit of a reach, but I've got to buy that talent and buy a position that is pretty brutal in the world of fantasy anyway.
Absolutely. With my final pick, I'm going to go into the 2024 class, but it's not going to be a quarterback. It's not going to be a receiver. It's not going to be a tight end. I'm going to go with Will Shipley, running back over at Clemson. I just, with what I've been hearing and reading kind of on what we're seeing from him, is he's every bit of what he was expected to be so far. I don't know if you've seen it, but like 24/7, they've kind of changed how they do their rankings now. They used to have like running back portion of it and then an all-purpose back. It's now all just running backs. Well, he was the number one all-purpose back. So where he ranks in the running backs, I'll be honest, I don't have it pulled up, but he's still got to be a top 3, top 3, top 4 in the draft. I'm sorry, in the recruiting class. But man, I'd be shocked if we don't see an immediate impact, over there at Clemson. Again, they're one of those that they don't rebuild, they reload. It's just, that's kind of what they do, and that's what they're doing. So excited to see what Will Shipley does this year, and then obviously into the future. So I would snatch him up anywhere you can.
I'm going to go with a guy that you kind of put me on to here. And that's Raheem Jarrett.
Nice.
We're in the bottom half of round 2, and trying to kind of figure out where I want to go is kind of hard. There's so much talent here, right? There's so much talent that you could go. There's so many different routes you can go. There's a lot of different receivers in Ohio State that you could go to, like 50 of them. Oklahoma's got some depth at the wide receiver position. Nagata's here, Drake London's here. There's a lot of, quarterback wise. I mean, we still have Jaden Daniels left on the board, JT Daniels, Harrison Bailey, a guy that I'm just in love with. He's still around. Some running backs available still, Kyron Williams, Kanante Ingram, Ely. There's a lot of talent still left that you could really take here, but Jarrett's upside to me is strong. So that's why I like him here.
I like it. The guy that I was talking about earlier, Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah.
I think all I can think back to is the game that I watched where Gunnar Stockton and Brock Vandegrift went against each other. And obviously being quarterbacks, you're not truly going against each other. So I understand that. But Gunnar Stockton just looked phenomenal, like unstoppable. And Brock, towards the end of the game, he kind of showed why he is the level of quarterback that he is. But he didn't have that type of game. So, I'm going off of a one instance that I saw here. So, and that's not totally fair, but I still think Gunnar Stockton, the downside is he's going to Georgia. So that's the downside. Yeah.
Everybody's going to Georgia at this point.
But
all right. So that was the 2-round mock draft for us, Devy. I think I had a lot of fun with this one. I really did. I think that maybe in the future we kind of piggyback on this and maybe do a 3rd and 4th round or something like that.
Well, because like you said, there's still so many guys out there.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The upside's insane. So make sure to head on over to Twitter. Give Stoops a follow at Stoops1990. Give myself a follow at Ricky Valera _. Give the show a follow at the Devy Delight. If you're listening on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review. We'd greatly appreciate it. It kind of helps with the fluctuation of finding us a little bit easier in the search functions. Make sure to go over to the Music City Drive-In and check out all of the latest articles, reviews, and especially highlighting the Drive-In Podcast Network, where you can check out the Film Optics Podcast. You can check out 50 Years of Music, the Music City Drive-In, and so many more. So thanks, as always, for tuning in and continuously supporting our show. We're approaching the 3rd year mark.
Wow.
The 3rd year of we've been doing this. So it's
what are you going to do for me as a celebration?
I'm probably going to find a new co-host. But thank you so much for listening to the show. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
I'm delighted, I've been lottie-dotting. Not a lot of thoughts when I ponder from the top. Man, these boys, they be podding. I trust them like a lot, and they